We're looking at South African component manufacturing, and we know that during the crisis we saw the market shaken up quite extensively, and perhaps we experienced another shake-up because of the strong local currency, and competition started to become rife. Things are changing, the rand has started to weaken, but the scenario could change very quickly once again. Where are we standing right now?
Well, first of all, you can see a smile on my face with the rand weakening.
Yes,
we needed
indeed.
it desperately. I think the component industry, unlike the OEM industry, has had a really roller coaster ride. It's been good from the volume point of view. We've seen new car sales grow. Unfortunately, though, a very high percentage of those are imported vehicles, and the strong rand has facilitated that. I think also the strong rand has also put pressure on us in terms of benchmark pricing, and we've been under squeeze with a lot of administered price increases, and particularly electricity, which has gone up for us well over 100% in 4 years. So it's been a tough old ride. The volume's been good, and we certainly respect the growth we've seen in the OEMs, but it's not an easy industry.
Absolutely. Have you seen a decrease in capacity overall and the closing down of some manufacturing plants? Or do you think that the industry now has just become smarter and slicker to adjust to some of the issues, such as the stronger rand?
No, not really. We have seen some closures. We've had some companies which will never open again, and that's sad. I think we have become a bit smarter, but there's a lot of issues, against us, and we actually need that weaker rand to make us more competitive. If you look at the rand, up to a few weeks ago was at 2005 levels, and we've had a sort of 45% PPI on it. So the margin squeeze has been our problem.
With regards to what we could see going forward, and it's not just about the local currency, it's about labour laws, which of course has also been quite a big hindrance. Do you think that's also about tariffs at this point, import tariffs? And we know that government hasn't really done much movement of that, despite the fact that the whole manufacturing and vehicle industry, in fact, has been talking of this for many years now.
I think particularly on the import side, there's a lot of imports coming in from China with very unfair competition, and it is an uphill struggle for us. And on the other hand, we haven't had the benefit of the exports because the strong rand has cut back our volumes in exports, and a number of us have had to move out of certain export markets. So yes, I think we do need to look at increased tariffs to nurture this industry, not to protect it. It needs to be nurtured. And of course, our very big concern is job losses. We're seeing in the manufacturing sector generally job losses continuing, and the confidence in manufacturing has unfortunately been on the wane again.
You said that the rand is, of course, one of the biggest challenges. Looking at wage increases and labour laws at this point, do you think that it is also partly a big hindrance to the overall industry, or do you think that the rand is the biggest challenge?
No, I think the rand is the biggest challenge because we need to compensate it. But labour laws and labour rates have also been. You see, unfortunately, private business is not able to withstand long strikes because a lot of pressure comes particularly from the OEMs because of the export customers, and I fully understand that. So it's very difficult for private industries to withstand a strike longer than 3 weeks. And so, the pressure from the unions has been very intense, and there's no doubt that we've been forced to grant increases way above.
You spoke of some closures, which of course are very dire for the overall industry. What percentage have we lost since the crisis?
Well, I think relatively small. I mean, if you look at companies that have closed down, probably 5 or 10%. But then companies that have lost business to imported components is serious, and there's a number of companies that are sort of on the cusp now looking at it. But I think if the rand does weaken, the rand weakens over 8, it's certainly going to save us, and let's hope it stays there. It's also very difficult to manage a business when you've got this volatility in the rand.
And if it doesn't, if it goes back to below 7 rand
well,
to the dollar, what kind of environment are we looking at?
Well, we have to then look. Fortunately, we have been talking to the DTI, and they're looking at another rescue package, and provided we get it quickly, I think there's no doubt that certainly both the DTI and the Economic Development Department are listening to us. We just need it to happen quickly. I also think it's very important the Reserve Bank cuts interest rates again. We've got to do something dramatic in this country. We can't continue to do what we've done. And I see even with the rand going, I just hope that they've got the courage now to cut interest rates again, because we desperately need it.
You mentioned policy. Do you think that it is about policy and industrial plans and action that needs to be taken?
Well, I think you've got to create the environment. I think industrial plans are good, but they take a long time to interact. What you've got to do is give the private sector the environment. And the one way we can do it, there's 2 ways, but the one way is let's cut interest rates, let's be bold and cut it by half, maybe 1%, and then let's look at what Brazil is doing to protect their currency. Brazil has gone out openly now and said they're going to stop uncompetitive imports coming in, And secondly, they have been using taxes to prevent the short inflows of investment money. And I think we've got to do that. We've got to go out and say, if we want to create jobs, we want to save this country, quite honestly, there's only one way to do it, and that's have a more competitive currency and an environment where the private sector can thrive.